Hey everyone, it's Evan Jarecki and Cecil Ledesma here with Gimme Vendcast episode 10. We are getting back from we missed you guys all last week, but Cecil, why don't you let us know why?
Good God. Hey, how are you, Evan? Good to see you again. So you were out of town. NAMA fly-in? What's that about?
NAMA fly-in. Yes. So this is one of the NAMA industry events of the year, one of the biggest ones. But this is when operators, suppliers, and others involved in our industry, the convenience services industry, travel to Washington, D.C. To join each other on Capitol Hill to, one, be educated about what's affecting our industry from the laws that are in place or the bills that are active right now, but also gives everyone an opportunity to speak with their officials of their states and actually represent the convenience services industry to those representatives. So meeting with congressmen and congresswomen and being able to pitch or just listen in on what is happening that could affect the convenience services side. It's a lot of camaraderie between operators and suppliers because we're all, if you will, fighting for the same cause, fighting for the same industry. And it's a great place to not only interact with each other, but on a more high level related to the nation as well.
So what's new? There were 3 topics I think that when we started talking about this and trying to recap for the audience, some new ideas, new laws, new acts that were put on the books, or Driver Safe Act. Only Evan Jarecki can explain that.
Yeah. There were 3 major topics that I heard with listening to operators, and since Gimme is a technology company, we do, I think, a bit more observing and listening as to what may affect the operator's business, which kind of gives us an interesting perspective on just listening to both sides. So there were 3 major topics. The first being the Drive Safe Act, as you mentioned, and what it is simply is changing the age from 21 down to 18 for interstate driving, truck driving. Mm-hmm. And right now, 48 out of 50 states allow 18-year-olds to drive trucks, but only within their states. So operators were for this, getting congressmen to join and co-sponsor this act to lower that age. And some of the benefits there have to do with getting truck driver experience right out of high school. And it becoming a career choice. It's actually, the average salary is high, I think, compared to other entry-level jobs that are in that blue-collar industry. But the average age of starting right now is about 34. So even with 21, it's very high as a starting place. And so the biggest concern around the act has to do with safety and lowering that age. But there already are 18-year-old drivers, and the interstate just says, hey, if you're driving from Savannah, Georgia to Chattanooga, Tennessee, you can actually do that now rather than needing to change drivers in Upper Georgia or North Georgia or something like that, just to go the last hour of the long trip. So there are a lot of safety precautions that actually have gone into this act to help protect the that are on the truck, technology on the truck. But also, again, to protect other cars around the truck as well. So there are a lot of co-sponsors already, and I think operators actually did a good job on getting other participation for this bill.
We'll have to keep paying attention to developments around that.
Absolutely.
This one's a mouthful. Small Business Tax Simplification Act.
Yes. It is a mouthful. I'll just let you nailed it, so I won't repeat it. But it's simplifying taxes for small business owners. And there are a lot of bullet points on this one, on all of the individual changes. But the overall message of this is just removing some of the burdens as it relates to small business that need to, in the way that they report taxes. And it's just, small business is actually a pretty broad term when the government says small business. I think it's under 200 employees, as I recall. So there are a lot of companies that fit in our industry that are under 200 employees that fit that. So it affects a large majority, probably the majority of our industry. Most people that brought this up, most operators that brought this up, the congressmen and women were receptive to it, just because there were pretty simple changes for an act that just seemed to make sense. That was the vibe that I got. I don't, I guess, necessarily recall all of the individual details, but overall, it was a pretty straightforward act that I think there was a lot of participation for.
And this one's my favorite. That came out of the fly-in was the $15, the raising of the minimum wage to $15. I mean, I love that.
Yeah.
What was that about?
Yeah, this one I think was, I want to say that the vibe from operators was it was maybe split down the middle, actually. And what we learned was after the fly-in, I think it was Thursday or Friday, that the bill was passed, and that the minimum wage, and don't quote me on that, I'm pretty sure this is what it was, is that the minimum wage will be raised to $15 an hour by 2026. I want to say 2025 or 2026. So we are moving in that direction, which the main part of the conversation for operators around this was in urban areas where the economy, there's a lot of money, flowing in the economy. So you've got Chicago, LA, Atlanta, and some of the other, New York City. In those urban towns, raising the minimum wage makes a lot of sense, and I think that operators were for that. And for those that were in the area, said, we can handle something like this, and maybe they're used to that happening. But in the rural areas, and in Georgia, I had a couple of the rural operators with us. It became a big challenge to go to 15. And I think there were a couple of different areas and reasons why, but it has to do with recruiting. The value of a current $15 an hour job based on where they need to go next. What does that mean? So if everyone that's at minimum wage bumps to 15, do I have to double, my $15 an hour people right now to 30, or, and what does the new value look like? And one of the ways, this was sort of off the cuff, that an operator recommended was raising prices. And it's like, hey, if in the rural areas you need to pay $4 for a can of Coke now, that just might be the case if we have to raise minimum wages. So there may be other options to balancing where the money needs to go, or how you hire, or what you charge for your products. There's a lot of levers you can pull as an operator for that. But it sounds like it may be more challenging for the rural operators rather than the urban, sprawling areas where it may not have as much of an effect. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what choices operators make to accommodate for the changes in the minimum wage.
Definitely something that I think that fight is just beginning.
I think so.
There are numerous approval stages that still need for this thing to go through. But I think the intent is there, and overall, I think both sides, whether you're for it or not 100% sure the impact on business by enacting something like this, these three items that you shared with us, I think the overarching theme, and let's see if you agree with me here, is change is always going to be taking place. Change is imminent. It's a fact of industry and business life. I think it's constantly being aware and paying attention, and that you can't just be closed in and say, if you're a technology company, hey, we already developed the greatest form of monitoring remotely, right? That's all we're going to do. That should be good for the next 100 years. Not the case.
Right. I completely agree. I think I see that more clearly as I go to participate in something like NAMA Fly-In. And the interesting part about it is, you can be really focused and in the business, but this is a very on the business or on the industry type of participation where, and it plays in other industries too, but when big things are coming or big things are changing that are related to law that can have a major effect and impact on your industry, why wouldn't you want to be as far ahead of that as you can to prepare your business? And now, now operators have about 6 years to prepare for this minimum wage increase. So there's time to be able to think about where your business needs to go, how you need to charge, whatever that might be. If you didn't know about those things though, and just let change hit you, I think it can potentially crush a business depending on how drastic the change might be. And I think even when it comes to things like the stock market, those are, people that play that game, there's a lot of knowing the trends and knowing things ahead of when they actually happen. It's a very hard thing to do. But if you didn't participate in things like flying, to get even those little tendencies as to what might change and how you can prepare your business, it's you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. And why not take advantage of something that's structured and a way to ask questions and be a part of the conversation to either find ways to grow your business faster,
right,
or at least not let the change crush you. Yeah.
100% agree with that. Gosh, you embrace all the change around you.
Yeah.
Right. You have to make room for it and do your homework, get involved. Gosh, there's so many lessons from just this conversation alone, but it never stands still. Commerce just never sits still. It's 24 hours a day. It's happening all around us. I think business owners, operators do themselves and their staff and their company the greatest favor by staying on top of it, paying attention, read the news, talk to other constituents in the business, and I think things will be just fine. But hey, change is uncomfortable for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. And I guess we can throw another tidbit. I read just yesterday that there was a new Mountain Dew flavor coming out. So maybe this, if it's looked up in the news, this could put someone else ahead to be. It comes down to that, right? Staying ahead of products and flavors. It's like,
that's right.
Those things can really give you an advantage. If you're the first person to putting out the brand new Mountain Dew flavor in your area, now you're the go-to for that. There are definitely ways to stay ahead, and I think I completely agree that change is inevitable, and you do your team and do your business a favor by staying ahead of what may affect your industry or affect your business specifically.
Great.
Cool.
Evan, Cecil, great.
This has been a good recap of NAMA Fly-In. We're big proponents of all the NAMA events, and especially the Fly-In, a very different vibe compared to the other big shows, but very important related to staying on top of the business. So
great. Love it.
This is episode 10. Hope everyone enjoyed, and we will get to you next week. Bye.
Have a good week.
See ya.